If you live with roommates, this is kind of an essential tool. Hey everyone, it's me, Katie-Beth again. And today we're gonna do a more low-key project. And when I say low-key, I mean it the way like people from my generation say it with like it's calm, it's low-key. Not like secretly like younger people say it. So I had originally wanted to make my Harry Potter robes. However, when I went to Joann's Fabric, they were out of all of the black fabric that would at all be usable to make my robes out of. And if you've tried buying fabric during this time that we're in, you know it's sometimes really difficult. Whatever fabric you want is just gone when you go. And ordering online is not too much better, mainly because I always seem to order the wrong type of fabric. But back onto the project at hand. So last night when I was reading, I was thinking, this really needs to be updated. It is a Dollar Tree dollar booklight, and for being $1, it's absolutely amazing. But there are issues that I have with it. Namely, this clip is really just too short. I haven't tried it with a paper book, but for this hardcover book that I'm using, at first it seems to fit on there just fine, but anytime you adjust the light, it's just too short and it starts coming off, or more commonly, so if you just put it in one spot and never move it, but because the light isn't quite bright enough to illuminate the whole book, it's kind of a sectional light, and every time you move it, it starts to work its way off because the clip is so short, and then eventually it just kind of clips off or doesn't stay very stable, and when I try to move it, it just falls over. So one of the things I wanted to do today was try to make this clip longer. And another issue I'm having is that I'm getting a lot of glare in my eyes often. This back part here isn't too bad, but the sides, I was thinking about maybe putting a shield on. And of course, to make it cuter, I really kind of just want to rhinestone this whole business. But I want to put the shield on first to see how that would even look. And I have this foam that I've had forever, and I thought it'd be kind of perfect to use for this. Guess it's 3mm thick foam. So let's get crafty and see if we can improve this. So first off, I decided I needed to get this clip off. So I pushed out the pin and tried to pull it out, but it just wasn't working with my bare fingers alone. So I got some pliers and pulled that pin right out, and then the rest of the clip comes off. And now I had these two side pieces of plastic I needed off, so I just tried bending them off, and that really didn't work. So my next technique was to use a pair of scissors and chop them off. And I thought that was working. I thought this would be okay. But as you can see, it still left a bit of a little notch on the bottom. So while I was figuring out how to get rid of that notch, I looked at my two types of clothespins that I have. I have a smaller one and a bigger normal sized one. And I started testing them to see which one would hang on to the book better. They both kind of flop out a little weirdly, but stay on there pretty stably. You can see the different sizes, and I decided to go with the bigger one because it would hold more of the book. So this is me trying to fit it onto the clothes hanger, but with that notch still there. So I figured the next best thing would be to just rip off that piece of the clip entirely and just deal with the little pipe part. But it was glued in there really well, and I couldn't seem to get it off. But then my roommate gave me a pair of dikes, and to my great amazement, it was able to get it a little shorter. Not quite flush, but flush enough that it would work for my purposes. See, it's working pretty well on there. A lot flatter than it had been before the dikes. So I glued the paddle onto the clothespin with some hot glue, and it stayed really well. And I did a few tests to see how stably it would stay onto the book, and I was also pretty impressed with that. Now I wanted to test how the booklight would work if I put a little shield on top of it. And it wasn't interfering with the booklight at all. It was just blocking the glare from my eyes. So I liked that. And here's a little sneak peek to you guys at the glare I'm talking about. So when you're trying to read in complete darkness, it's just like glare shining in your eyes. Now, before I put too much effort into remodeling this lamp too much, I wanted to make sure the batteries would be interchangeable in case I needed to change them out later. The back was super hard to get off. It wasn't made to be taken apart, but it still has the ability for me to replace the batteries if I need to, so I continued on with this project. So to fit my little lampshade, I just cut out a piece of that foam, and I wanted to make sure the on and off switch would still work. So I poked a hole through there, and then with an X-Acto knife, cut out a little space that was big enough for the on-off switch. Then I fit it on there again. Then once I knew it fit, I went around it with the hot glue gun and fit my foam right on there. I also made sure that there was space for me to get the batteries off if I needed to. I made sure not to glue that piece down. But I glued down the top of the foam. Had to hold it on there to get it fitted on right. And then I put another piece. The top didn't really need a glare block. It was fine, but I wanted to make sure it kind of matched all together. And this is what it looks like. A little shine coming through, but it wasn't harsh on my eyes at all. So I went ahead and went over it with some rhinestones. Rhinestones did cover up some of that glare leak, but again, that glare wasn't too bad at all. And this is what it looked like, finished product. Very pretty in the light. The E6000 glue that I used is not drying very quickly, and some of the rhinestones are sliding with the weight of them, I guess. I'm trying to push them back into place, but unfortunately, when I leave them alone, they start sliding again. So overall, I am actually very happy with how this funny little booklight turned out. So I did achieve my goals, let me show you, of extending the part that clips onto the book. Now if I move it around, even if it does shift, there's still plenty still hanging on there. I am a little worried about how this moves so much, but it's a clothespin and not much I can do about it. Additionally, I'm super happy with how pretty that is. Like, it just reflects all of the light. Not quite sure what it looks like completely in the dark. Let me try that. So here it is in the dark. It does have a little glow, but it doesn't have that horrible glare that it had. Like, now I just see a glow, whereas before I would kind of see that while trying to read. Let's see. I'm very happy with this. I can move it around to the different part of the book without it shining in my eyes, and even moving it around is still keeping it on there. Some helpful hints I learned out while working on this project. I used the E6 glue, and I've used it before, and it's worked perfectly with these little rhinestones, but I've slowly put it on each little piece, like a little dot, and then stuck it on, whereas this one I kind of put the glue on and smeared it on, and then put the rhinestones on. But because of that, it was just taking too long to dry, and anytime I just let it sit, the rhinestones would slowly droop down, leaving like large white spots, and I could move them back into place, which was kind of cool that you could still move them before it dried. Whereas using the glue gun, they stayed exactly where you put them, but that sometimes was part of the problem. They stayed exactly where you put them, even if it was on accident. One of the parts I was glad that I used a glue gun for was around the bottom edge. I glue gunned those on. It took a while because I had to do them section by section because the glue dries so quickly. But because I had done it that way, they didn't slide right off. Whereas if I think I had smeared the E6 on and used it that way, the rhinestones probably would have slid right off. Even right now, I thought I had let them dry slowly enough. But even now there's like little clusters and white spots where the glue just slid. But overall, I think this is actually really beautiful. I really like this. A weird thing with putting rhinestones on everything to fix it, I feel like in this case, actually kind of worked. Oh, also if you're wondering what book I'm reading, it's Midnight Sun. I've read all the other versions of this book, so it's taken me a little longer to get through it just because I know exactly what's going to happen. It's basically Twilight, but through Edward's eyes. They also, a while back, made a Twilight that was gender swapped, and that was kind of cool. I liked that it had a different ending. That was fun. So this one is basically Twilight, but through Edward's eyes. And has anyone else been reading this? I don't know if it's just been so long since I read the original Twilight and I'm just so used to watching the movie over and over again that the dialogue's not the way I remember it. Well, thanks for joining me today on this Handcraft Handsewn Hump Day. Don't forget to meet me back here on Friday where we're celebrating the holiday season with another Tim Burton themed unboxing and review. Have fun out there celebrating this holiday season, everyone, and have a great night.